Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast. This is your escape for real, unscripted conversations about sports, hobbies, life, and storytelling. No scripts, no forced takes, just Man Cave talk. Now, here's your host, Dan Kasper.
Brandon, where do we begin? Girls basketball?
We'll start with girls basketball. That was fresh off last night. So we had the sectional semifinal round and a lot of games with local intrigue. I guess we can start Division II with Rice Lake.
Yeah.
Picking up the 69-60 win over La Croix Central. That was a game I was at. Yeah. Doing a nice favor for our friends down in La Crosse. And, yeah, I mean, that was a game where, Rice Lake in the first half was up by, I think, 21 at halftime. And It was really impressive because, obviously, Eddie Schmidt and Eddie Shepley get a lot of the attention, and rightfully so. But I was really impressed with, how the rest of the team was playing. Like, they were in that spot. They were doing exactly what you look for. Where if they were open, they were hitting shots. If otherwise, they were making good passes. They were playing good defense. And in the second half, Central closed it. They got that game to within, I think, 5 in the last couple minutes before Rice Lake hit their free throws and closed it out. So. But I was impressed with what I saw to Rice Lake last night. Now, kind of the matchup coming up tomorrow, I think a lot of people were kind of anticipating with Shawano. And that'll be tomorrow afternoon at Stevens Point. So that should be, honestly, probably one of the more high-profile sectional finals you're going to have because Shawano features another UW commit in Leah Nordine. So there's a definite state star power there for that matchup. Obviously, winner there goes to state. So that should be a real fun one. So Division III, we got St. Croix Central. They'll be taking on Mosinee. That's actually gonna be at Eau Claire North tomorrow at 1:00. So
head over to the doghouse.
We're gonna have a couple games here locally tomorrow. So if you're looking to catch a game, maybe before you got a boys regional final game on deck. St. Croix Central picked up the win over Baldwin Woodville. So. That was last night in Hudson where Mosinee took down previously unbeaten Wittenberg Burnhamwood. So, one of those two teams will be heading to state. So that'll be one to keep an eye on. Obviously, a couple Division IV games last night that had intrigue. Colfax Cameron picking up the big win, 63-38. That game is over in Menominee, and that's a Cameron team that's really been clicking at the right time down the stretch. They picked up the big win over McDonald near the end of the regular season, and it's a Cameron team that had some turnover from the team last year that actually was in the sectional semis. They had lost a really tight game to McDonald there, but came back. They're playing really, really well right now, and they're going to meet Neillsville after Neillsville, shut down Eau Claire Regis.
They had. Did I see online they started off 20-0?
Correct.
They
started the game on a 20-0 run.
Wow.
And the when I think of Neillsville, Coach Geyer does just a fantastic job over there. Every year they're right there, and they are just a defensive smother factory when you can limit a team that is as potent as Regis to 23 points. 5 days after knocking off McDonald 47-38, defense is what they pride themselves on there, and right now for them business is good. But those two teams will be meeting tomorrow. Another 1:00 game. That's in Altoona, so
that should be a really good one.
It should
too.
be, kind of a fun styles clash there. So Division V. Last night, Aleva Strom stayed unbeaten, improved to 28-0, picked up the 62-38 win over Owen Withee. So now they will be facing another unbeaten Webster, who won 63-31 over Solon Springs. So someone's still going to be unbeaten and go to state. But that game is going to be tomorrow in Somerset, and that should be a doozy. Another D5 Section 2, a second Dairyland team still alive, Independence Gilmanton. They picked up the 47-40 win against DeSoto, so they'll be in action. That's actually a night game tomorrow night in Cashton. They'll be taking on Barneveld, and Barneveld is definitely one of those. I would put them in like the girls basketball royalty category because they've been good there forever, and so that's a big hurdle. But that Gilmanton team is very good, so that should be a fun one. We get down to it. Division I, we've got Stevens Point and Green Bay Notre Dame. That'll be at DC Evers tomorrow, so that's kind of the matchup there around here. But we're this time next week we'll have state girls basketball will be underway.
Right. Oh, and that'll still be at the Rush Center.
That's the Rush. Yep, in Green Bay. So, let's go to hockey here quick. So,
because we got state going on.
We do. We had girls. We'll start there with their semis yesterday down in Middleton, and it was Bay Area, the Co-op out of De Pere, and then St. Croix Valley, the Big Rivers heavy hitters. Those two teams won, so they'll be meeting tomorrow for the state championship, while boys had Division II and had a couple of really good D2 games. Amory as the 4 seed going and knocking off Wanakee. So they'll be there. And then Northland Pines getting pretty much last second goal to knock off Somerset. So, we could have potentially had a couple middle border teams there. Just getting 2 out of those 4 teams to state from that same conference is a pretty darn good achievement. So, yeah, it'll be Amory and Northland Pines tomorrow, 11 a.m. for the state championship in Division II. Division I takes the stage today. You got Stevens Point. They're the 1 seed. They got De Pere. And then the other one, you got Madison Edgewood taking on University School Milwaukee. So, yeah, we are getting down to it there.
Yeah.
With the games out of Middleton. So, boys basketball, we got the regional semis tonight. And then, obviously, a quick turnaround to the regional finals tomorrow. You got
a lot of the D1s and 2s start tonight. Some had
some
action.
did. Some did. Just the way, with the a lot of the Division I sectionals actually seed out the full section, so you had fewer quarterfinal games.
Okay.
And you got Memorial on the road at Stevens Point. You got North on the road at Kaukauna. You've got Hudson. They are going to be hosting Neenah.
Yep.
Going to be one of the longer travel games that you're going to see tonight. So those really get underway. Division II. We've got Big River's rematch from the regular season. River Falls taking on Rice Lake after Rice Lake earned an overtime win over Lakeland. Your Medford Raiders making the trip to New Richmond. Menominee, they'll be hosting Merrill. It's a good time of year. And Division III, you got some teams getting going tonight. Altoona gets going tonight. They got Arcadia. Stanley Boys got Adams Friendship. GET.
Black River Falls pulling off the upset.
The 6-11 upset over Elk Mountain. And that's a tricky Black River Falls team because of they play with pace, they play with three, they take a bunch of threes, and there's times that can catch a team, and that was kind of the case against Elk Mountain Tuesday night, a very good Elk Mountain team. So Division IV, Colfax is going to be hosting Prairie Farm Clayton. McDonald's going to take on Ladysmith. Regis and Fall Creek jump in there. Fall Creek as the 1 seed in the other half of that D4 section. They got Mondovi, while Regis is going to be taking on Bangor. Osseo Fairchild, they're the 3 seed in there. They're going to have Onalaska Luther, while the Dunn St. Croix champs Durand, they got Augusta, who knocked off Whitehall. So, and then D5, Turtle Lake, they went to state last year. They're the 1 seed. They got Solon Springs. Otherwise, you've got some other good matchups around here as well. So New Auburn making the trip up to Webster, Brewster making the trip up north to Drummond. So yeah, things pick up quickly, and this is. Today and tomorrow is always kind of the fun. To me, that's when kind of business really picks up. You got the quick turnaround, and you kind of get to that point where they're like, okay, a lot of these early round games, as you can see by the final scores, they're a little lopsided, but you get to a point where it's like, okay, that's not really so much the case anymore. And then, we've also got state gymnastics, which gets going today. Eau Claire captured the Division I sectional title last Saturday at home, and they'll be in team action. Actually, that's going to be starting up at noon today. They're going to be, obviously looking to go in and put together a good, strong finish. And then, several of those gymnasts will be back in action tomorrow. Individual competitions tomorrow. Both of them are in Wisconsin Rapids. Triple Falls, McDonald's, Peyton Grunewald also going to be in individual action down there too. So we're getting down to it to the point, and even where Monday track and field starts.
Wow.
It's the first day of practice for track on Monday. So
nice. Well, hopefully that weather continues.
Hopefully, and then we have a little bit of maybe a little bit of an indoor season as well.
Really quick from the Division III side of things, we'll start off with the UW Stouts. I know they've got gymnastics, WIAC championships going on. Stouts even got lacrosse going on with St. Ambrose in Iowa. Women's tennis is going to be taking on St. Norbert. We got track and field, indoor track and field at UW Lacrosse for the final qualifier. NCAA final qualifiers at Waverly. There's a couple different ones over there too, but maybe the big one, we've got men's hockey taking on River Falls. That's going to be going on tomorrow for the blue gold side of things. A lot of the same stuff when it comes to track and field. UW Lacrosse last chance qualifier. There's also the Wartburg final qualifiers. Tennis is going to be taking on lacrosse. Softball is going to be taking on Augsburg University tomorrow as well. And for let me just quick, where did it go here? For hockey too, for the women's team, the big one going up against River Falls. So another big hockey matchup for them too. So, and then just wanted to quick double check. Really, we've got, okay, that's more so next week, but baseball, Blue Gold Baseball, taking on Carleton College next week, too. So, all right, that's your local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. I don't mean to bring up Lindsey Vaughn like for the fourth straight week in a row, but she posted videos of her already rehabbing, and I don't know if she was just stretching. I mean, it looked like she was doing maybe some weight work, but I mean, already doing rehab after that severe of an injury, is that normal human being stuff that I'm watching on her Instagram?
I mean, I think she's obviously going to be pushing herself beyond what most people are. I mean, we certainly do try rehab people right away after these injuries. You do whatever they can. I mean, it's just good for people both physically and mentally. But obviously, I think she's going to do it in a way that probably stands out compared to most. But yeah, I mean, if you look at a trauma patient, and I mean, that's essentially what she is. I mean, that was a high energy injury. They come into the hospital, and one of the first things our goal is to do in orthopedics is to stabilize someone well enough that they can start getting up and moving and rehabbing. I mean, it just makes you a healthier person. So, yes, that is beyond what most are doing, but that concept is something that holds true across medicine. We're always trying to get people up and moving and going. But yeah, again, she's probably above and beyond what most are.
And to kind of feed off of that too, and I guess this is kind of more of a general question, but like after injuries or surgeries to that, or maybe even like an ACL injury and recovering from surgery, do you normally want patients to rehab early? I mean, do you want them to rest more, to recover? And I know it varies with the type of injury and surgery and such, but maybe some more of the common ones, whether it's like maybe an Achilles that we've talked quite a bit about or quite a bit too?
Yeah, so highly variable is the answer. So for ACLs, we actually, right out the gates, we generally have physical therapy start within 3 to 5 days. So they're rock and rolling. So we have them work on gentle range of motion right away, muscle activation predominantly on the quad. That's something we really focus on. So we do not skip a beat. So those people are going. Now, it depends on the type of surgery, but weight-bearing status is variable. Sometimes we allow them to put some weight on it. Sometimes we don't. Now, something like an Achilles, though, those we do shut down for usually at least a couple weeks where it's basically in a splint and we're not having them do any weight-bearing. So those ones will sometimes sit there a little bit longer, literally and figuratively, as we allow the tissues to heal. Part of that is because Achilles injuries, the repair is right under the skin. I mean, if you feel the back of your leg, your Achilles tendon is right under the skin. So when we're doing the repair, it's right there. So we really, really need to make sure that wound heals correctly. So wound issues on ACLs, for example, are exceptionally rare. Wound issues on Achilles are not that rare. And so we're always more diligent with that. So that plays a role in it as well. So it really depends on the injury and what we're doing. Shoulders, for example. So, if you have like a labral injury, those are very common in athletes as well. The first couple weeks, we're usually having them stay in their sling and just do gentle range of motion exercises. PT won't start until about week 2 or 3. So it really depends. But on the whole, if we can, movement and use are going to be good. But we have to balance that with allowing the structures to begin healing and kind of get that whole process started.
How much of that part of the rehab process is really mental for the patient? Because, I'm thinking like, hey, I don't want to move this. I just had surgery. I just had an injury. If I move it, if I start rehab, is it going to hurt? Is it going to, am I going to have a setback and such? How much is it from a mental standpoint for that patient to maybe clear that mental hurdle?
Yeah, we have a term for that, kinesiophobia. So basically the fear of moving things. And it's real because guess what? Not only is it like a made up fear, it's real fear. I mean, because when they move, it does hurt, right? That's the challenge with a lot of orthopedic surgery. When we do things where we're drilling tunnels and we're putting screws into things, and I mean, it hurts a lot. And so then you ask the patient, hey, I know it hurts a lot, but please do this. And, it's hard. It's hard to do. Because there's also the natural, what is the point of pain? The pain is in our body as a way to kind of limit us. And so, before there were such things, orthopedic surgeons, when you got injured, the only way the body could heal is stay off of it. And so pain is basically a response to something that's injured, and it's telling your body, don't use me, please let me heal. And so we're trying to kind of go against nature in that and say, yeah, I know it hurts, but I'd like you to do it. So there's this natural fear that you have to get over. And so that's why physical therapists are so critical. I mean, we have so many really good physical therapists in the area here that really, 99% of the surgeries I could do would fail without good physical therapy. So they're such a critical part of this whole process. And so, they wear a lot of hats. They're, as the name implies, they're physical therapists, so they're actually manually working with the patients, but they're cheerleaders, they're psychologists. They do a lot of things. And we obviously wear some of those hats as well, where as you're talking to a patient, sometimes you're just giving them a pep talk, or you're trying to explain things in a way that really lets them kind of do what they need to do. So it is, to answer your question though explicitly, I think it is very difficult to get patients to push into that and through that. And so we're understanding of that. You have to kind of use kid gloves sometimes, but there are times where you have to have a heart-to-heart with the patient and say, look, you're falling behind where we need you to be on range of motion or strength, and it's time that we really got to lean into it. And part of that is because it's hurting and they don't want to do it. So it can be challenging, but so many people are just impress me every day with how hard they're able to push their bodies in rehab. And because no one's more motivated than the patient, right? It's their body. They're recovering from whatever injury we're talking about. So whether someone's trying to get back to Division I sports, whether someone's trying to get back to playing pickleball, it doesn't really matter. Whatever motivates them and gets them going, that's kind of the incentive to work hard. And so patients find that motivation. And so it's the human body and human mind are amazing things. So people can push through a lot, but there is an element of like, okay, I know it hurts, but we just got to do it.
Right. I want to go to the combine. This was from a few days ago, but Ohio State's safety Caleb Downs, we've talked a lot about with the combine and these medical checks. And apparently, according to reports, there were a couple of red flags during his medical check. One of them was a partially torn meniscus was found, but the other apparently was with his ACL, a degenerative ACL. Now, can you kind of explain what that is, and is that concerning if you were a part of an NFL team to find that in a draft prospect?
Well, to a certain degree. So, we use the term mucoid degeneration. Basically, it's where you get these kind of cystic changes within an ACL. It's probably indicative of a previous partial tear that occurred. Now, sometimes we'll see that in like older people, so like 70-year-old people that we're going to be doing a knee replacement on, for example. Sometimes the ACL just looks beat up. In a young athlete like this, that shouldn't be the case. So it implies probably at some point a partial injury. Does it raise your eyebrows a little bit? I'd say a little bit, but I don't think it would be. Now, of course, I guess I should say this. It depends on the extent of the degeneration. If it's like a couple little cysts in the ACL, wouldn't mind. If it looks just chewed up and there's just like one or two fibers intact, yeah, that would be a lot more concerning. So I suppose it all depends on the severity. If it's severe enough that they're talking about it, my suspicion is that it is fairly advanced. So I guess what it would boil down to, though, is, a physical exam as well. So when you test that ACL, when you pull on it with a Lachman test, anterior drawer, or pivot shift test, we can really assess the stability of that ligament. If it feels good, I would feel fairly confident saying, hey, it may not look perfect on MRI, but it's functioning well, and that's what matters.
So that, when I read that and such, I'm glad I asked you, because I'm thinking, is it withering away? That was the impression I got reading that. Is it like disintegrating or something like that? That was almost like the image that I got from reading that.
Yeah. Presumably it was a partial injury, that there's, again, probably some fluid that gets inside the tendon, then you get these little degeneration that can occur. And so sometimes it's just literally like a tiny little blip on the MRI. Other times it's more significant. And again, it's hard to say exactly what his was. There's other thing too, is I don't believe this is a reconstructed ACL. This is his native knee, I believe, native ligament, I should say. So in a ACL reconstruction, I think that would be even more concerning, because that could imply the graft's not incorporating well. But if it's a native ACL, much less concerning. If it's a reconstructed one, I think that would be even more concerning.
I want to go to baseball here with the Milwaukee Brewers. Quinn Priester, a starting pitcher for the Brewers here. And last year he was going through some wrist discomfort, they said. And now there's talk that he may not even be ready to go this year. I'll just read a little bit from Brewers.com here. But it said that Priester developed discomfort in his right wrist in late August. Medical imaging then and now has offered assurances that he is not dealing with a major structural injury, But more than 6 months later, after a restful offseason, the issue has not gone away. The precise cause is proving difficult to pinpoint, so much so that the Brewers refer to it vaguely as a right wrist issue. Priester says the part that's difficult is some throws I'll be able to feel it, some I don't. Sometimes it's difficult based on the day to understand what we're going to expect. That's some of the frustration right now. So I'm not going to ask you like, hey, what do you think it's going on if they're having issues to try to figure out what it is. But I mean, is that still kind of a common thing, even with all the advances and medical technology and such? There's some injuries and there's some issues that is still hard for these doctors and orthopedic surgeons to kind of figure out or pinpoint in this case.
Absolutely. I mean, I wish every single patient that walks through my door I had a perfect answer for, and unfortunately that's just not the case. So we have a lot of different things. So we have the stories that the patients tell, so the presentation we call it, so how they describe what hurts, how it hurts. We have physical exams, we have x-rays, we have CTs, we have MRIs, and those are all fantastic tools. So I mean, at no point in human history have we had the better ability to assess and diagnose issues as they come through the door. That being said, there are people who come in and hurt, and they really hurt. This isn't some made-up thing, and you just can't figure out exactly what it is. Now, from his descriptions, it sounds like the MRI didn't show anything necessarily structurally wrong, but it does mention that there was some inflammation. So that implies either inflammation maybe around one of the tendons, so like a wrist tendonitis, which we certainly can see, although 6 months of wrist tendonitis would be really atypical, or some inflammation in the joint. Then you start asking yourself, well, what's causing irritation in the joint? Could it be a small cartilage injury? Could it be a ligament injury? Could you have a process going on like Kienbach's or something? Is some other issue going on there that we're not really seeing? The answer is, of course, from where I'm sitting, I don't know, because if their specialists don't know, I certainly wouldn't either. But that is a really challenging scenario where you have, especially a high-end athlete like this, where they're saying, look, I've done all the things you wanted me to do. I rested. We gave it the offseason. Now I'm trying to throw again. And, hey, it doesn't feel good. Because a lot of those processes I mentioned should burn themselves out over a window of time like that. So it does start raising some eyebrows and saying, uh-oh, this may be a red flag for something more serious going on. Even though the MRI doesn't show any structural problem, there are times people have pain and things that limit function and ability to perform, not because there's something that's radically wrong, but because it's something that is just enough to affect their ability. And again, we've talked about this numerous times. These athletes aren't trying to get back to 80%, 90%, which for a lot of people is good enough to live life and do things. They need to be literally 100% because they're trying to compete with the world's best athletes. And so for an athlete like this, anything short of 100% is probably going to be career threatening at least. And so that when you're treating athletes like this, it becomes a much more challenging scenario because the goal is to return to such a high level that any ill effect that they may have is just such a big deal. So for him, is it a red flag? Absolutely. At this point, with that kind of break and rest, it didn't come all the way back. I mean, maybe it's slowly improving and it'll continue to do such. I don't know, but my guess is they're going to repeat imaging probably more than once. And occasionally you will get a second or third MRI and it's like, aha, look, now we see it. Or maybe an arthrogram where they inject into the joint. Maybe that would be another option. I don't know if they've already done that. So there's some different tools that they have, but yeah, there's always that concern when you just don't have the smoking gun, yet the symptoms remain.
Last question for you to kind of feed off of that. You being a former, college athlete, high level athlete too, does that kind of get your competitive drive a little bit going like, okay, I got to figure this out? Is that, that might be kind of a weird question and such, but it's like, okay, I've got to, if you run into a situation, maybe something similar to that, is that where, maybe your competitive nature comes in? It's like, all right, this is my challenge. This is something that, I really want to try to figure out here.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that like altruism of taking care of patients, right? That's what we do for a living, and it's kind of what drove us into this field, is to be able to help people. So there's always that, like, you're in it together with the patient. Now, no one is in more pain than them when they're having these issues, and so I don't try to pretend like it's we're 100% together on it. The patient's going through a lot more than we are, but we certainly take it serious. And every patient that I take care of, whether the complaint's big or small, we try to take it seriously. And so, yeah, there is an element where you're kind of in it. And also, when you're the team physician for teams, I mean, you can't help but feel like you are on the team and part of the team, because in a lot of ways you are. And so you have that drive to get them back out in the field. Now, there's always that balancing act, and that's not what you asked, but it does raise that issue of, like, you know, when you have an athlete that's kind of borderline getting back, like, you can't be a fan. You can't say, hey, I want you back on the field because we need to win. You have to look at it from the lens of what's right for the athlete and this patient. And so that can sometimes create this, like, all right, look, I know we both want to be on the field on, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever day we're playing, but I just don't think it's right for you yet, and we just need another week and see where things go. So, and sometimes you're the one holding the patient back. You know, they're like, look, I'm playing, and you're like, no, you're not. You know, it's not smart for you to be back out there. So the competitive juices flow with everybody. So yeah, it's a team effort, and everyone works together. And especially when you're talking about pro athletes, you have your athletic trainers, you have your massage therapists, you have your physical therapists, you have your orthopedic surgeons, you have your primary care doctors. I mean, there's a whole slew of people that are invested in the health of and nutritionists. I mean, these guys have a laundry list of people that are in their camp that are trying to keep them optimized, because the margins are just so small. So to keep these guys at peak performance, they are working every single angle. And so, and that's when they're healthy. And then now you throw in an injury, and boy, then now all of a sudden you got really a much more complicated scenario. But yeah, everyone works together. And when it is a complex issue like this that you haven't quite been able to pinpoint, there's no question that there's an element of, like, you know, you want to get to the bottom of it, whatever it takes.
Right. Hey, before I let you go, I got to ask, Kyler Murray, Vikings, is that what you want to see maybe next week? What's your preference for a quarterback, or do you run it back with JJ?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we bring in Kyler, I don't think that's necessarily, hey, Kyler's taking your spot. I think competition's good. So from where I'm sitting, yes, I'd like to see a sign. First of all, his contract's going to be probably very small. Yeah. Just because the Cardinals have the dead hit. So to me, it'd be a great scenario. And just simply for the competition. Now, if he comes in and beats out JJ, then I guess that's what it is. That doesn't necessarily mean the end of it for JJ, but yeah, I mean, I think we need to bring someone in that's going to push him at minimum. Yeah, it's going to be kind of a crazy week next week for sure, man. So I'm excited for NFL free agency. So, it's an exciting time. Yep, absolutely. Well, Dr. Austin Crowe, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, appreciate the time as always, buddy. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll catch up with you again soon. Okay, sir? Absolutely. You take care. You got it. There you go. Dr. Austin Crowe, again, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.